too little, you insult the man, and if you pay too much, you insult yourself. So I believe in paying a fair price for salt. Is the whole reason why I say that. I used to
I
be the
like that.
person that I would. Pam and I actually just talked about this not long ago. I would. Austin and I have fought over tabs before. We typically will always be the first one to reach for the check.
I enjoy the game of chess of like one takes a piss and the other
Absolutely.
one makes their way over to the host station, and yeah, I enjoy like the game of trying to spot the move, like the opening of when the like in this case you is going to go for it. It's a good time.
When did you do that? I did this a week ago. I called ahead a week ago, and I had
Was
them
this-
do
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Like,
Was
that's
it one
the
of?
best.
I think. Was it you, Troy, in Vegas, who I actually, in order to pay for a meal, I think it was. Forgive me if I'm forgetting, if I'm remembering this wrong. I literally had to like go and arrange with the waiter to pay for a meal because you're so good at picking up the check that to have to pay for something, I felt like we had to.
Have I ever told you
work
guys about the
around
birthday
slippery
trick?
something.
If you want to pay
I think
for
it was
something
Vegas.
and the waiter comes over and is like, okay, and you're fighting over who's going to pay, you be like, do not let them pay. It's their birthday. And then they won't let them
that's
pay.
brilliant.
It's really good.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's genuinely
That's
great.
good.
Yeah.
I love that.
But
I did
I
it for the longest time out of insecurity. Like, I would just pick up the check, and a lot of it was because I felt I was at the table with people of note, or I was people that had been in the industry longer than I, and so I felt insecure, even though I wouldn't admit it. I was like, "Hey guys, I got this." And what I didn't realize is that in that, like, if it's Austin and I, or if it's like us having drinks or whatever, you're like, you slick bastard. Because there's a level of camaraderie and peership that goes with that. But if it's all of us at, if there's like 20 people, and I've done that before, and I picked up the check, everybody instantly feels shitty. And
Yeah.
I was like, I have to get over that. So now, if ever I look at us, I was like, let's split the check. That is actually a huge sign of respect, because I view you as a peer. I don't view you as someone either that I'm above or below.
Yeah, the grandstanding subtext is one that it never occurred to me that would be a thing until I had that experience of someone being like, wow, way to make me feel little. And I was like,
Really?
what? I was like, I was excited to show you how, much value and meaning that you've brought me both tonight and in general. And one little small gesture of that is to say, hey, I got this. But I've had it backfire enough times where I'm like, all right, maybe
that's
I
interesting. I mean, I will generally like pay for my own food. Like, I'll do it even if I'm on a date. I know that's not a huge thing, but like I usually try to split, and I know that's like you're not supposed to as a woman, but I generally I'm like, no, it's cool, we'll split it, or I'll pay for drinks, you pay for food, whatever. But
hold on. Is that set up before? Because look, it's been a while since I've been on the dating circle. So I always, if I ask you out, to me there was an assumption. I'm asking you out, I'm going to pay.
For the record, every time we've gotten drinks, Troy, I considered that a date. So I'm a little insulted that you feel it's been a while.
I wouldn't fight it, but yes, even if you asked me out, I would want to split or at least pay for something. Be like, well, you paid for this, so I'll pay for dessert.
Would that be a conversation, or would that just be?
I wouldn't fight if they felt strongly one way or another.
I'm just saying, when would you let that be known? Would you be like, hey, I didn't tell you this, but I'm going to pay for my meal.
Term sheet.
When the term comes?
Yeah, I don't write a contract before I go on a date. I don't know when I bring it up.
You always start with the short form.
I feel like I bring it up like...
Things changed since we dated Alanah back in the day. You used to have to do the contract first. I think that's phased out over time.
Yeah,
but
I think it's really shifted. Contract
the three of us were dating, that's what it was, yeah.
But I was going to say, the only exception of where I won't generally try to pay my own share, I've never tried to pay for a whole table, because I ain't got fucking Troy Baker money, apparently.
No. Understand this. Neither did I. I would literally put myself in a very financially precarious position simply to avoid the awkwardness of the splitting the check.
Damn.
It had nothing to do with my well-being or financial wealth or anything. A lot of times it was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for my rent, but I just picked up that check for like $300.
Yikes.
My favorite.
Well, sorry, I was going to say the only exception for when I will not even try to pay is when I know that we're at dinner or at drinks and someone there can pay for it on a company card. So if I'm there
Yeah, he's an
and
exception.
EA can pay for it, I'm not going to be like, no, let me pay. I'm going to be like, no, let EA pay.
No.
I don't. That will not fight it. I'm like, yes, your company may pay for this meal. I appreciate that. How much money are they making off of you? Okay, let's.
It's when
go.
that Valve card comes out, and it's like a kind of credit card you've never seen before because there's like 5 companies in the world who have those company cards. It's like that is.
Chair,
It's like
Mike.
when. It's amazing. Say again.
You got a new chair.
I did.
Oh,
I
did
did.
you watch the video?
This is
I
me
think
selling
this
out,
video.
by the way. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
got,
Finally,
I got a free chair. I feel like a real YouTuber now.
You
A
are.
lot of hashtags.
you're on
Got the
YouTube once
light.
a week. That's
Me
that's
too.
enough.
That's the power I
Is that
wield. Yeah,
soothing?
I'm just gonna. I was gonna sit like this so the logo's on display for the
Yeah,
entire call.
appreciate
It's pretty
that.
good.
Go,
Earn
yeah,
that.
got to give the sponsors what they want.
My
Sorry.
favorite total pick up the check fuck up was when I went to college. One of the people I met there, one of the teachers, was a retired music editor who had been Jerry Goldsmith's music editor. They did 90 plus films together. This guy, he had been staff at Fox back in the day. He was on the scoring stage when Jerry recorded Planet of the Apes in 1968. Like this guy, and he had worked with everyone. He worked with John Williams on E.T. He worked with John Barry on, the original James Bond composer on the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve.
Don't look at the penny.
He I know, yeah.
Wait, hold on. Pause real quick. There's 2 people on either side of me that have no idea what I'm talking about. Have you never seen Somewhere in Time?
Oh man.
Oh my god.
I don't believe that's a real movie.
Have
just
you
don't
really
even
not
have to
seen
look
it,
at it,
Mike?
Austin. You just
Amazing.
God.
Austin, can you only play music from
question.
films I've seen, please? It's really upsetting
no.
knowing that you're doing something perfect, but I don't know that it's perfect.
It's a deficit in your cultural education.
Real quick before you finish that,
Wow.
should they reboot that?
What?
There's many
Should they
deficits in
reboot
my
that?
cultural education.
Sorry, Troy. Go ahead.
Should they reboot Somewhere in Time? Austin Wintory.
No.
Clearly,
I don't
they
think
should.
so.
I don't think.
I
so.
feel
They
like
need to
Mike
make
and I
it more
could
relevant
use-
to a modern audience.
Yeah, we
I-
us modern audiences out here need some new content.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
That's
one of the saddest movies ever, and it's beautifully,
Yeah.
wonderfully tragic. Christopher Reeve, Christopher Plummer, Jane Seymour. Oh.
And a really, 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 really magnificent timeless score.
Timeless score.
And so this guy, his name's Kenny Hall. Oh yeah, it's well. That's the Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, that's
that,
Rachmaninoff.
Lots of people discovered that piece because of that movie. Kind of like Unchained Melody with Ghost. But so Kenny Hall was the music editor on just countless scores. Jerry Goldsmith, he considered to be his big brother. So here I am, the biggest Jerry fanatic in the world, and I get to meet this guy that had been in the trenches with him day in, day out for like 40 years, and also with other just luminaries in the business. And so we bonded immediately, and it was like as soon as the semester was over, it was like we should be having lunch on a regular basis. So we ended up becoming a really, really close friend until he died a couple of years ago. And the very first time we went to go to lunch, I was in that same boat as you were talking about, Troy, where I was basically within like a month out of school. And we went to go to the Smokehouse, which was his favorite place. He loved all the old Hollywood places. And so I got gas on my way in, and I'm pulling up in a car. It's all messy and dirty, and like the valet, and he's pulling up in his Jag, and he's so old Hollywood, He's like, I came up in the 50s, kid. And, I ran with Sinatra. He's that vibe. And so he, in fact, case in point, he once invited me to a dedication at USC of their recording studio to John Williams, in which Williams, Spielberg, Lucas, and a bunch of other people came. And the best part was that I was standing right there. Spielberg, right in front of me, walks up to Kenny and just goes, God, I miss Jerry. Those first words out of his mouth, which also I thought was hilarious with John Williams right there. But so this guy is just like, he's just this moving human legend. And he was just so beloved. And so I was like, I am buying this guy lunch. I was so excited to buy him lunch. And the fucking credit card got rejected because the gas station where I had gotten gas on the way in, it tripped my card with fraud alert. And I didn't know that. And so this was before the time when like you would get a text to say, did you really do that? And you say yes, and then your card is fine. So my card was just shut off. So I didn't know that I hadn't overdrawn the balance or something. And I was the guy comes back very
devastating.
Oh, I was like, this guy's never going to talk to me again. And he was like, let me get it. And he was so excited. And then it ended up being the first of like 1,000 meals that we shared. But the funny thing is, I think he immediately forgot about it, but I still carry it as like this shame where I thought, I'm never going to live this down. And he never held it against me though.
You lived it down, Austin. And now you've told everyone who's watching live because, hi everyone, we're live. I'm Alanah. Is this right this time for you, Troy? That's Austin Wintory, video game composer. That's Mike Bithell, video game director. And that's Troy Baker, video game actor.
Why are you inverted? Well, like you're like Top Gun right now. We were inverted. Because that's Austin, that's Mike, that's you. I did it right.
No, you didn't.
Not for me.
No. From nobody else's perspective did you do it right.
Everything's backwards.
We do every 10th episode live. So welcome.
10 episodes we did that?
Yep. Yep, running thing on the show. So this is our 40th episode.
To learning about...
Yep. We had a meeting about it, Troy. We are 1 year old on Sunday. Our first episode is the 29th of November. Hell of a year. Because we were monthly at the start, so that's why it's not 50.
Doesn't check out at all where that's concerned, but happy birthday to us. Thank you for everyone for tuning in live. It is Thanksgiving, or we would have done it later in the week, but, people have families, apparently. Ridiculous.
I have two.
I respect it. But because of that, we were going to talk about a kind of lighter topic and see, how quickly we end up on toilets.
Somewhere in time.
You can talk about it if you want. I won't stop you. You've learned that over 40 episodes. Talk about whatever you like. But
I do have a question. What is the first holiday movie that you kick it off with? Like, all right, it's finally we can do this. What is that thing where you're like, boom, it is the holiday season? What's that movie you throw in first?
I always want to have a side channel with Mike where I was going to be like, do you do that, Mike? Because we don't do that in Australia.
You don't watch Christmas movies.
We're not like, we gotta kick off the season. We're just like, it's getting hot outside. Hey, better go to the beach.
Let's go out on the beach. It's time for Christmas. Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's it. And then we all pass out because we get too hot. The heat waves are a real problem in Victoria.
And all the beer, of course, as well.
One of the weirdest things about Australian Christmases, obviously we don't have Thanksgiving, but I think that American Thanksgiving is quite similar to Australian Christmas, where it's all about just eating food with your family.
Does Santa wear shorts in Australia?
Sometimes, and sunglasses. Sometimes. All right, just insult my culture. That's fine.
Costume change over the Pacific.
Prison Island.
Wow. But
hey, we're not.
Can we just talk about Auntie Donna for an hour? Can we just talk
about whatever you want? But what I was going to say is, we still sell winter-themed Christmas decorations. So it's all still snowy and stuff, and people buy them, and it's very strange. But I am planning to have my first white Christmas this year. I'm pretty excited about it.
I guess we do the same thing in like LA and Phoenix, Arizona does that stuff where they haven't,
True.
But it is at least the winter time. Like, it is quite literally like.
It's just their winter means hot and their summer means cold. It just flips.
Australians don't.
I love the most American. That's the most American take on that. I love it. They just not Australia. They just have
they use the American system. They just name them differently. Yeah.
It's like right now the time
and word. I went down there. It's like it's the summer, but they say it's cold. Someone done fooled them Australians. Taught them the wrong word.
Wouldn't be surprised. But the question I was going to present to the group is, it's Thanksgiving, but it's also something that we wanted to talk about a while ago. Just generally throwing it out there. Give me a very positive experience that you've had working in games. Something very positive, a human or an event or even a fan that altered you. A
human or a fan.
A human or a fan.
I meant to say colleague there. Fans, not humans, as it turns out.
Wow.
Hi, Alanah. Thank God we're not live right now.
Yeah, I can't edit that one out. I was going to ADR that. So mine is this. I worked on radio. That's how I started in podcasting for about 3 years in Brisbane. And we got this submission from a almost 100% blind gamer who had never played a video game and had never been able to, who sent us an email basically saying the way that this show specifically talks about video games has given me an understanding of what that experience is. the way that you guys discuss the themes and the way things look and the way things feel. I guess we did often talk about things on an emotional basis or a story basis. Has given me a better understanding of the medium than anything else I've ever listened to. And I feel like I just teared up, and that changed my approach to everything I was doing ever again. It's a thing that I had never considered that I could be doing for someone that we weren't intentionally doing, that gives you one of those, oh, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing kind of moments that would have been maybe like 7 years ago and just always stuck with me as a massive compliment. But also, again, sometimes you don't know that you can be helping people in anything that you're doing, and often you can. That's a benefit of video games. So I could make that story a lot longer, but that's the one I'm going to kick it off with. It was something that still sticks with me today. Anyone else?
I got a more recent one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which is which I do a lot. I visit a lot of like unis and schools and do talks. And honestly, usually my talk is mainly like, don't listen to anyone who does talks. That's usually my theme for these talks. But I was doing one of those. I can't remember where I was. Somewhere in the UK, and a lecturer at the uni came up to me. And this is not someone associated. I don't think they were even in the game department. And she was holding a laminated piece of paper, and it was her kid, who's like probably like, judging from like the handwriting and the art, was probably like 7 or 8 years old, and it was their pitch for Thomas Was Alone 2.
Wow!
And they laminated it because it was a really important document.
That's so cute.
And it was amazing. Like, I mean, the pitch
I assume
itself.
you said, for legal purposes, I cannot
read
this.
accept it. Take this away from. No, I actually wrote them. I asked for. We were in a school, so I got like a paper and pen and wrote the kid a letter back, thanking them for it and everything. But it was just such a sweet thing, especially given that like this kid was younger than the game, probably. Like that, this was a kid. I didn't make this game in a world where this kid existed. That's a weird thought that like this, clearly like parents were into games. They put their kid in front of Thomas Was Alone.
I feel like visually Thomas Was Alone looks like something that is readily playable by children. Colorful, simple shapes.
I would let
exactly. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing in there that's gonna, upset a kid or be confusing. Probably it's just about friends. And yes, the AI sci-fi stuff probably goes over their heads. But like, yeah, it's. I think it's fine for like a kid. But yeah, it was just lovely that they'd done. And the thing that got me was the laminating, because I remember as a kid, like that was like a big deal. I don't know if that tracks to Americans or Australians at all. Like,
yeah,
laminating,
sure.
That's legit.
It's ready
it's
ready to go on the Voyager probe at that point.
Yeah,
like, exactly right. Like, and I thought that was really touching. So that was one of those ones where like genuinely it was like, oh, that's amazing. Someone that didn't exist when I made this, that meant enough to them that they'd heard that I was going to their mum's work, and
that's very
got
cool.
that done for me. That was very
Whenever
sweet.
I have any kind of person under 10 be like at a convention or something has happened, be like a huge fan, or sometimes it's their parent, I always have this moment of, I'm never going to swear on the internet again. No more sex jokes. I'm not appropriate for children at all. Why are you watching my content? And then it doesn't last. But every time I'm mortified.
That's like when I realized that my mother-in-law reads my Twitter, and for like a month I was very, very good on Twitter, and then now I just don't. Yeah.
Troy.
Yeah.
Austin, I'm curious what your story is.
I have been very lucky in this department because, especially with a game like Journey, that game really invites the kind of better angels of your nature type experiences. It's a game predicated, like Genova first described it to me 11 and a half, almost 12 years ago now.
Wow.
He described the pitch, and it was basically like, I want to make players feel genuine empathy and even love without it, like just organically, where they just feel something positive for a fellow player and feel like, wow, you really made my life better in some way, big or small. And I remember thinking, especially back in 2009, like, well, I don't know how you're going to do that, but God, I hope you succeed. I mean, it was one of those that it seemed impossible. And then, of course, they somehow managed to figure that out. So because of that, people have these stories that still to this day blow my mind. But one of the ones that I thought I would tell because it gives me props, and it was a really really special experience. So one of the things about where I work here in my studio is I intentionally have no posters. There's no like Journey poster in here. There's no like any awards. It's all in another room because I want this room to be about making new stuff and not about reflecting on old stuff. And the only kind of loophole to that is that on my shelf over, I'm really bad at this, right here and a little bit up here. Yeah, over in that corner, I've got little keepsakes that have been given to me along the way by various folks, and they're usually like specific to a project. So shortly after Journey came out, I was able to go down to Brazil and conduct the music in concert as part of Video Games Live, and there were a handful of us there, some Blizzard folks, Russell Brower and Neil Acree, and a few others. And we were signing stuff until like 2 a.m. The entire fucking audience came to the signing. And as a non-union stage crew, so we were able to stay all night. And so this one girl comes up in line. She's really shy, and she's with her friend. And she gets out the Journey art book, which is this. And I open it, and it has a signature page just like that. It's been signed by Matt Nava and Genova Chen. And this had only just come on the market. I hadn't even seen them yet. So this was the first time I was seeing the Journey art book. And this girl who she had to have been a teenager. I was like, how do you have this? And then when I open, I see the signature page made out to her. I'm like, so I'm in Sao Paulo meeting what I thought was a total stranger, and she has a signed copy of the book. It's the first one I've ever seen of this. Who are you? One thing I didn't know is that because this was a few years or maybe a couple years after the game had come out, they were able to publish a bunch of fan art in the book. And so she turns to this page, and that's her fan art. And so they gave her an advance copy in exchange for publishing her work. And so then she pulled out of her pocket this with a little note that just said, Austin, thank you for coming to Brazil. And this was handmade by her.
Whoa.
And I had this moment of like, holy shit. I'm in a part of the world I've never been in. This is essentially the largest city on the planet, and yet, like, you fly over it for an hour before you get to the runway. I mean, the size of Sao Paulo is hard to comprehend.
Wow!
And here somehow managed to find my way into a room with a complete stranger, and yet had this immediate connection and all this sort of emotional resonance. And then she had made this beautiful little thing that I do keep on my shelf, not because it reminds me of Journey or of my music or anything, but it reminds me of just how profoundly small this industry can make the world. And it was, there were a lot of experiences, but that's the one that I always tend to remember because it was such this daisy chain of like, oh, cool, a book. Wait, you have a signed one? Wait, you're in the book? This is for me. It was so overwhelming. That's awesome. So yeah, it was that I've been very, very lucky to have a lot of really magical moments in my career, but that if I had to pick one, that was the one I chose to pick.
That's awesome. I'm a fan. Troy?
I don't know how to pick one.
I didn't put too much thought into it, even though mine did stick with me. You know, it can also be someone you worked with, or something like that.
I mean, there have been there's different things that are magical for different reasons. There's things that have been personally beneficial for me. Like I have some of the people that I've been able to meet and cross paths with. There have been moments of even adversity and opposition that have taught me so much. And some of the things that I'm most grateful for about working in this industry were not great moments. They were like the whole finding out that I have to reshoot the Sarah scene. That's not a great moment, but it's a magical moment because it taught me so much.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't talked about that.
Really?
I don't think so.
Oh my god!
But it's been a year. Who knows?
Yeah, we do tend to cycle the same story a little bit, so we could have done.
If there for some reason are people that have not heard this story, sure, I'll happily tell that story again. I had asked Neil, like I had known they laid out the entire story. This is a fun little I guess, series of events. Limiting ticket notwithstanding, I walked in. I got the second that I got the audition for Last of Us, I was angry because I had been pestering my agent to get me a meeting with Naughty Dog. I had hung outside the room that they were doing pickups for Uncharted 2, I think, at that point, because I played Uncharted so bad. I was just like, I like did everything that an actor's not supposed to do. I like sucked up to Amy Hennig. I did everything. I was just all I want to do is just be in this game. 'Cause I was such a fan of it. And I'd finally got a meeting with Naughty Dog, and it was for a character that I was absolutely not right for. And I, nevertheless, crushed the audition though. They said, I don't think you can do this, but we can do this one. So I go down to the audition. I'll never forget. It was a cold, like in November. It was a cold morning. I drive onto the lot and I walk in and I immediately freeze because I see sat in the room is literally the picture that is of the character on my pages, on my sides, is literally sat in somehow every person that's around that room. And I'm just like, I am a tourist. I'm a fraud. I have no, what am I doing here? This
Didn't
is about
you
to be
say that
embarrassing.
you had like pretty bleached blonde hair at that point? Like really like ultra yellow.
The way that I described myself at that point.
No, that's silver. So
no,
that's
no, no,
silver.
No,
like
no.
You're talking
This
like
was like
90s kind of NSYNC
Eminem.
style.
my
Eminem.
jeans had a reflection. Let's just put it that way. My shirt had too much of a graphic for a graphic tee. And I describe it as thus. I looked like a backup dancer for a K-pop band, but not a good one, like a bad one. It was not good. So I walk in and I literally barely get in the door and I look around and I look at the sign-in sheet and I haven't signed in. So I realize I can leave now and nobody would know. And so I literally reach behind and like grab the door handle and I'm about to twist and open and walk out and I hear, "Oh, Troy, good, you're here." And it was the casting director. I was like, "Hey." And she goes, "Actually, they're ready for you now." So she walks me into the stage, and there on the other end of the far end of the room is Gordon Hunt, Neil Druckmann, and I think Ryan was there as well, and obviously Bruce Straley was there as well. So it's kind of like the panel of judges were there,
Simon
and I'm
Cowell.
clocking them. Simon Cowell was there for some reason. It's like, "Oh, you're absolutely terrible." And I walk up to them and I just kind of set my stuff down and I look and I see this girl is pacing back and forth, and I knew that I would be reading with someone, but she just looks really, really kind of distraught. And I walked over, I was like, "Excuse me," and I said, Can I give you a hug?" And she looked at me and she's like, "Yes." And I was like, "Give her a hug." It's like, "Okay, let's have some fun." And it was Ashley. And the person that had been in right before her had just really, really gone to the mattresses and was trying to sell their performance as being this tough, grisly survivor. And that's not who Joel was to me. To me, a person who is a ruthless survivor. First of all, he became one, but he's a dad and someone that is genuinely a person who you don't want to tangle with. Knows that about themselves and they hide their anger. They don't put it on display. And so the persona that they project is I'm a nice guy. And what they're afraid is that you'll find out that they're not. So that's who Joel was to me. So I walked in, we go through the whole thing. That's one little beautiful moment. Another one was when they gave us the pitch and Ashley and I sat through the entire same pitch that they gave to Sony. And we walked outside of the little small office that stood on the side of the stage. And at that moment, or that time, I still smoked. And I walked outside and I was like, "Let's take a break." And went outside and lit a cigarette. And Ashley and I both just kind of stared off into the distance. And I said, "Do you realize that if this thing sucks, it's because of us?"
Shame it
Like,
did too.
We're going to be the ones that fuck this up.
Yeah, terrible game.
Kind of was. It did okay.
Yeah.
2,000
I mean,
copies.
history's forgotten it, which is
Yeah, in your favor.
And then that's one of my favorite moments. And then another one was when I knew that there was the whole Sarah scene that was happening. I just asked for Neil Druckmann to give me some heads up, and he did. And he said, "Hey, just let you know that's coming up, and next shoot." And we did it, and I went for it. And all I knew is that you were supposed to attach yourself to a moment that was real. And I didn't realize that it took a lot of skill. And I realized at that moment how unskilled of an actor I truly was. And it was bad. And I lost my shit. And like, you can even see the video of it. Like I fucking wept. That's not acting. That's real. Like it exploded from within me. And Neil goes, cut. I'd like to go again. And I was instantly terrified. And I don't use that word a lot, but I was terrified because I was like, I gave everything I had. I don't have anything left. I just ran the marathon and I have nothing left. And it was like, we're gonna, you thought you were running a half, you're running a full. And so we did it again and again and again and again and again, and like 10 takes. And finally I'm exhausted. And he goes, okay, I think we got it. And so I left. I drove home. I walked into my apartment. I crawled straight into my bed and I didn't surface until like noon the next day. I was just literally exhausted. And about a month later, Neil comes to me and he goes, so, hey, there's a scene we need to reshoot. And I was like, don't fucking do this to me, man. And he said, we don't have it. I was like, yeah, you do. And we argued about it for a little bit. And then the next month we actually shot it. And we went through the whole scene again. And I came into that scene filled with anger and hubris to prove to Neil that he was wrong. And he walked up to me after like the 5th take and he goes, I'm picking up on some resistance. And I'll never forget those words. And I was like, yeah, you're damn right. You're picking up on some resistance because we got this in the can and you're wasting my time and their time, everybody's time. And you're going to get back in the editing bay and find out you had it in the 1st take. And he goes, here's what I have. I have a man broken. I was like, yeah, just lost his daughter. He goes, here's what I don't have. What's happening? This is happening. I can fix it. It's not working. She's going. She's gone. I'm broken. And he was right. So we reshot it. And he said, he gave me one piece of direction. He goes, you know, in every take that we've done now, you've never looked at her. You've never looked at Sarah. You've never looked at Hannah. And the second that I did, that's the take that they used. So
Does
that
that mean
moment,
that you were almost internalizing her? It was almost like a prop, and you were
100%. There was no Sarah. There was no Joel in that. There was all Troy, because Troy wanted to prove to everybody how great of an actor he was. And the second that I removed Troy, the actor, from the scene and allowed Joel to be in it, that's all it needed. So there's moments like that where I like, man, that's the day that I learned how to be an actor. And even like this morning, it's so stupid. I got one more story that I will tell, but I'll say this one, let us spit it on this. I've been reading this stupid Alan Watts book, and even I was talking to Laura Bailey the other day, and she was talking about she's a voracious reader. Like she reads like 400 to 500 page books like nothing. They're aperitifs to her. For me, I will read. I read Marcus Aurelius, which is 99 pages in the course of 18 months. So I mean, like I take my time with books, and I've been reading this Alan Watts book for a while now, and I'm about 48 pages into it, and he talks about he's setting up kind of like what Buddhism is all about and the letting go and all that. And we all talk about it. Fucking Disney's sold billions of dollars of merchandise based on that slogan. But I never really understood what that meant until he said, it's like holding your breath. And I went, what? He goes, breathing is good. That process is good. But if you hold your breath, it becomes poison and it'll kill you. And it's pointless. So it's about breathing in this breath and then letting it out and breathing in the next one. That's how you go through this life, is you breathe in and you breathe out. To hold on to a breath, even if it's your favorite thing, you got to let that go. And I was like, I've never thought of it that way. So these moments that I've kind of like found, these moments of breath that I've been able to have, I hold on to them for as long as I can, but then I have to exhale and let them go because I know that there's something else that's soon to follow. And one of those moments was in Indiana. Shout out to Indiana. I'm at a con.
Such an easy applause line, Troy, but I love it. I respect it.
Indiana. Go Hoosiers, go Colts. I knew 2 sports teams. Wow. So very, very long story short, father comes up to me, and I think I've told this story before, but he says, hey, I played The Last of Us. And I was like, very cool, man. He's like, you don't understand. I was like, okay, this is not the normal fan interaction that I'm used to. And he says, I have a daughter. And I got to that first scene, that Sarah scene. And I put my controller down and I didn't touch my PlayStation for 6 months. And I was like, totally get it, man. Some people is like, no, you don't understand. I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop talking and let you finish your story. And he said, that night I walked in and I held my daughter until I fell asleep in her bed. Because just the thought of going through that, and that's not why I play games. I play games because I want to have them entertain me and I want to, have a release and all that stuff. I was like, absolutely. And he said, every day that I walked past that PlayStation, I looked at it and it was just staring at me going, quitter, quit. You got to finish this. He goes, and so finally I sat down and I just pushed through and I played it and I got to the giraffe scene. And he said, and again, I set the controller down. He goes, I guess it just dawned on me that sometimes in life you have to push through the hard things to find your giraffe moment. And I just started crying. I was like, I got an audition for a game, and I wanted it so bad because it would have meant something to me as an actor. And then I walked into that scene because it would have meant something to me as an actor. And I never knew that a dad would have a profound moment with his daughter not because of my wonderful acting, but actually the absence of it, because I finally trusted a director and because hundreds of people toiled endlessly to craft that scene. And I remember Neil looking at me and goes, we're going to have to invent better tech to really capture that scene. And it's kind of goes back to the conversation that we had last week. It's not about the awards. That's why I never noticed that about you, Austin, that you don't have the awards and the trappings of your accolades and achievements around you, because that is holding on to that breath. You're like, dude, this is where I breathe. I'll go out there and hold my breath. But in here, I breathe. And I was like, this is why we play. This is why it's never even about the game. The beauty of Among Us has nothing to do with the simple mechanics or the art style or anything else. It is about bringing people who normally don't play games together in a time where we really, really need it.
And murdering them.
I concede my time. Thank you.
Well, that was beautiful, Troy. Thank you.
Please the court. Yeah, that's pretty. Are you okay, man?
Dude, I'm fucking great. It's
nice.
It hits me, man. We're like, I'm really, really grateful that I get to do what I do, and it's just. I get made fun of, man. My whole life I've been made fun of because I'm either, skinny and lanky and awkward with no sports ability, or because I listen to classical music, or because I play games, or because I read comic books, or because I now read fucking Alan Watts very slowly. And people are like, come on, man, just lighten up. I'm like, no, I love the fact that I get to see these moments of beauty and poignancy and just the most simple, stupid things. I'm grateful for this podcast. I'm thankful for this podcast. And there's been times when it's been hard. There's 4 people that are fucking crushing in their industry right now. We're busy. Alanah got a job finally. And
finally.
Previously unemployed, yeah.
And you have to fight, and the fact that we've been able to do this, and the fact that people are sharing with us every week that they're like, thank you for this. This has really been uplifting and informative and educational and entertaining and all that stuff. It's like we're doing some cool shit. But it's a breath, and I don't want to hang on to it.
Being very thankful that we have an audience that tolerates this show. That's what always gets me. Is I counted, right? Leading up to the year of this podcast, is I've worked on 9 podcasts professionally and loved all of them for very different reasons. This one is the only one where we can talk about anything and people aren't like, shut the fuck up, talk about video games. The only one. Every other show that I've done, you have one tangent.
We set a low standard very early.
I know.
We set a very low standard very early.
We haven't been talking about Star Wars.
I'm thankful.
I was going to say, you realize we're halfway through a Mandalorian season and it hasn't even come up. We've changed, man.
We've moved on. I'm thankful that I feel like me and Alanah have brought the joy of sarcasm to the two of you. I feel like the kind of the British Australian, I love you, so I'm going to be mean to you shit. I've slowly but surely migrated across to you guys.
Is that why you're mean to me? I always just assumed it was just genuine animosity.
I've had to genuinely
imperialism on your own shore, man.
I've had to take American friends to one side and be like, I'm being mean because I love you.
I had that
You know what I
problem
mean?
at
It's a
Funhouse a
hard
little
thing
bit,
sometimes.
where people would be like, Alana's just genuinely mean. Does she not like them? We'd be like, you don't understand. That's not what's happening
Let me
here at
teach
all. It is very confusing. But the chat is currently saying very nice things. Thank you, everyone.
To your credit, also, Alanah, specifically, to all of you, but to like just building on that, Troy, I fully agree. When we were doing it once a month, and it was like, hey, this Comic-Con panel was really fun, and everybody seems to have interesting kind of overlapping and yet distinct perspectives and thoughts on life and games specifically. So we should just shoot the shit once a month. And then once the apocalypse settled in, and Alanah, you said,
we're
I
here
think
to
there's a lot of people
stay.
sitting around.
What else are we gonna do?
It was but the specific way that it was framed was, I think for a lot of folks that are kind of miserably stuck indoors right now and freaked out and don't really know, like maybe they'd like this. And my natural instinct is to be like, I don't think I'm helping anybody by them listening to me talk 4 times as often. And so I just kind of went along with it because I thought, well, that I enjoy doing this. So, but I really didn't think, it could be helpful. It just seemed like, well, all of us are not on planes the way we typically had been constantly, and so there was a flexibility to do it. And I've been amazed at the messages and the tweets and things of people saying exactly validating your instinct of this has been, I've had some shitty times this year, and this has been a nice thing to turn to once a week. And I really would have never taken that seriously. I would have just thought it's just the 4 of us basically hanging out, but with the mic on.
Still true.
And
but I like that because I feel like that forces us to have. I love having an excuse to talk to you 3 every week.
Yeah,
because
I
think that's just nice because I'm someone who I struggle to to reach out to people and be that guy. So it's just nice to have a nice excuse to talk to you 3.
Well, that's why I feel like at the start of every episode and the
screw
end
the audience. I don't care
is
about
always
them.
a fight for us to. Yeah, it's always a fight for us to find the point where someone has to leave. I feel like if we didn't have a hard out, we would literally talk for 6 hours straight, and the show would just go forever. Probably. Which is wonderful. We all have a lot.
Well,
to say.
that I did love, especially in the early days when we really did have a lot more time on our hands in the immediate wake of lockdown, where it did happen all the time, where we'd stop recording, but we just talk for another hour, and then be like, "Fuck, we should have kept recording."
Yeah.
And oh well.
Or we'll start the ones I enjoy is when we'll start talking. We'll be talking for like 45 minutes when we're meant to be recording. This doesn't happen anymore now. Alanah has a job, as has been stated.
I had a job before
the times. Full disclosure.
You were unemployed before.
Damn it!
But like,
let's just say Alanah has a real job now.
We'd be having like 45-minute conversations, and then we'd realize everything.
We should probably record this.
And we'd have to it'd be like, we have to delete all of that because we mentioned this company.
We did do a lot of stop recording, start recording again. We'd be like, gotta scrap all of that. Or one of my favorites is whenever we start a show and Mike goes, wait, Troy, I feel like we should be recording this. Troy just said something. One of my favorites is the episode that starts with, have you ever had a really good shower? Well, Troy just says that a lot.
Dude. Showers, man. I honestly believe that the reason why showers are so powerful is because I can't do anything else but be in that shower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
like
that
the second
even
that they
in
make
that
phones
episode,
waterproof.
I may have mentioned I like taking a drink in the shower. If I'm
That's
like drinking
weird.
a beer,
You did.
An
That's
alcoholic beverage.
I'm a huge fan of having a beer in the shower. I love it. I don't know why. I just think it's like very nice.
Amazing.
Showering in the
Dream
dark
Home has a little built-in fridge that's accessible from within the shower.
Showering in the dark makes sense to me. I get that.
I've never done that.
It's good.
It's very surreal to be in hot water.
I think it's the sound that I like listening to.
I get that. That's very woomy, right?
Yeah.
There's a hotel in London, the Me Hotel, that's right there on the Strand, and the shower has there's like 2 rainfall things, and then there's the 2 on the side, and it's just like you walk in, and it's just like You can do like the platoon, just like shower. It's so good. I will stay in there too long.
Means
I
you
come
got your
out
pressure too high.
I have a lot of long showers. I also like listening to music, but showering is where like I get my thinking done. So I'm like, just gonna
me too.
listen.
That's what I'm saying. Like ideas come to me, but I won't do that in a bath. I don't take baths. I'm not a bath.
You don't dig a bath.
I do like a bath. They get
No,
fancy.
I will shower it up. But being in a bath, that to me is just like I feel antsy if I'm in a bath.
Like you feel like you should be doing something. You feel hot tubs are great. Like there are literally like places I go on holiday purely based on the fact that I can get.
I did that for Christmas. Like I said, I'm planning to go somewhere that's snowing, and hopefully we'll see. I'm like really banking a lot on this white Christmas that it may not snow, and I know that. But I specifically got a place that has a hot tub, and I was like, I wonder how it's outdoors. It's like, can I be in an outdoor hot tub while it's snowing?
Have you never done
There's
that?
nothing better. Sitting in a hot tub in the rain is the best thing.
It never even occurred to me.
Hot tub in the rain is incredible.
No, if you talk about having this is what it makes the hypocrisy is crazy. I will have a drink in the bath or a hot tub, but it's the falling water that's weird to me.
It's great. I recommend it. I'll take a coffee in the shower. Like, not that one's rare. That one's uncommon. But I'll do it.
First of all, it's incredibly dangerous to do that.
Episode 50, we'll just do it from the shower.
I am down for that shit. By the way, no, not just shower. Hot tub. Hot tub. Hot
tub episode. Yes.
Hot tub episode.
Yes. You can make it work.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you definitely need to experience. You definitely need to experience the snowfall in the hot tub. That is,
my god, it's the best.
That's like a polar bear club.
Yeah, and but polar bear is cold water, so it's the moment that you realize
it's the back and forth, isn't it? Like you jump into like a sauna and then
I've
jump
done that
into
before.
the ice and then go into a sauna or something like that.
That's just terrible.
I don't know how it doesn't kill you, but
it feels like it should.
The cold plunge. I've done the cold plunge before, where you sit there and it's like you don't move, and you're just supposed to sit there in the cold water, and then you go to the hot tub. It's like part of this like spa ritual thing you're supposed to do. It's like a water course that I did once. It was awesome. But the moment when you realize I have to get out of this hot tub, and you know that it's going to be so cold, and it's just like...
It's true. You end up staying for eternity.
I am already anticipating that. So, Australia has snow. For anyone watching who's not aware, Australia has snow.
They call it dirt. It's white dirt.
White dirt. Yeah. And I used to go snowboarding like pretty frequently. So I've been to many a ski field and have been to the snow frequently, but it's less common that you are just in a town that happens to have snow. You are generally there for the activity of skiing or snowboarding, at least
you're
my
up a mountain,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's less of the like, I just happened to be in a hot tub where it's snowing. It's like not as accessible depending on where you live, of course, but that's not a thing that I like again even comprehended. And I'm already doing the mental gymnastics of, do I get out and then run indoors? Like it's going to be freezing. Is your face cold, or is the heat from the hot tub going to make my face warm? All questions that I'm not sure what the answers are to.
No, that's the beauty of it. Like being in cold in a hot tub, like you're like everything above the water is like cold, warm. Oh, it's amazing. You're feeling, you just run the fuck in at the end with take your gown out.
Yeah, I'm having these.
We ever work out what a dressing gown / bathrobe was? I feel like we.
I literally was going to say the same thing, and I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself. Is it a robe? At that point, is it a robe or is it a dressing gown? Because I'm not going to get dressed. I'm leaving the robe.
I think they're all different things. Sorry, Austin, go ahead. Okay. You were saying something.
Was I?
Oh, yeah, now I giggle every time I say it.
When I
You're right.
For real. When I was a kid, my dad had dug a kind of a stream, like a little mini fountain type thing in the backyard. And it had frozen over, and the thing was only a foot deep. But I was a kid, and it was like a sheet of ice. And we had one of those, modest little hot tub things up against the side of the house. And so I was out there, and one day I just thought, it'd be so cool to smash this ice with a hammer. And so I went out there, and I was standing. The brilliance of the calculation was I'll go out and walk onto the ice and start smashing it. So as predictably, at some point, the movie moment of like watching the spider web form below me happened, and then it all gave way, and I went falling into this ice water. And I was stupid enough to have set up this scenario for myself, but smart enough to realize I might be in genuine risk of hypothermia because I'm basically plunging into water below frozen ice that's just outdoors. And so I remember just running. I was convinced I had seconds left to live. You know, it was like I would have been fine. But I was just like, I was convinced, you know, it was like in Indiana Jones, like the poison you just drank. Like I was absolutely fucked. And so I remember I just ran and pulled the top off the hot tub and just dove in. And I was also like, this might also kill me. And that moment,
you're right.
though, the burning of the temperature shift was like amazing. And I thought, I wonder if people know about this.
Well, I've told you guys about
this. And then
this.
I discover it's a whole thing.
Wait, is it? Oh, well, I've done jump from a pool to a sauna, but I've told you guys this before. I don't know if I've said it on the show, of how if I get asthma, I have to run between breathing in cold air and breathing in steam. So I put my shower on as hot as possible, and I open my freezer, and I breathe in both of those. If it's bad enough.
You're just doing the Metal Gear Solid keycard thing.
It works. It works. That and drinking Coke, two things that help if my inhaler is not working, because sometimes my asthma can be that bad. But
yeah, that you did mention that once before, and that is baffling to me. I've never heard that before. That like the change, the back and forth is what helps it.
Yeah, what a doctor told me, and it could be a placebo. Like it could be complete nonsense, but doctor told me to do it and it works. So
like the damnedest thing is I also have to be holding like a knapsack and be on one foot and
juggling at the same time.
That doctor, come to think of it, was in an unmarked door in a back alley.
It's entirely possible that it could be the focus that I have on what I'm breathing.
Fucking, I don't know, run back and forth between your...
That's like
dude.
Dr. Nick, in The Simpsons. Did you go to Hollywood Upstairs Medical College too?
Thank you.
Pretty sure that's your guy.
Before we wrap the show up, I did want to say, if this is a positive episode, thankful. Aside, outside of being thankful for you guys, I did want to mention how cool it's been for me. Because this is all about me. To see so many people praising Austin for the Pathless on my own Twitter timeline, people who probably don't follow you, who don't know that I know you, who have no connection to you. There's just been so much love on my Twitter for your music that it's been really cool to watch. It'd just be like, fuck yeah, Austin, like so much of it that it's like overwhelming. So I'm gonna make sure that I play it at the end of this week. Was my plan, but it's been just
that's very nice.
So much love sent your way for sure. I hope
you're pretty good at it, Austin. In fairness, like music,
you're pretty good at that thing you do. Yeah,
you got like a talent, man. Like you should definitely explore that.
As soon as I work through the, learning to drink beer in the shower, and I got a whole list of things, and then I'll take music.
That's all it's holding you back. If you could drink beer in the shower,
because this is making a joke out of a compliment to deflect it, which is exactly what I do. Austin, is what you've just done. Would it make you feel more comfortable if we start talking about cannibals again?
Completely called out. No, that's very kind. It was. I really, really loved working on that game, as hard as it was. Just not hard. Like some games were hard, like Abzu and AC Syndicate were both hard because they overlapped with a really shitty period of my life, and it was really hard to keep everything separate. This one was hard just because it was a complex problem to solve, and the game was a moving target, and they, everybody's, which are the normal good reasons for things to be hard. It was just the standard challenges, as it were, that come with every one of these.
You were on it a while as well, right?
It's 3.5 years, but it was so gratifying that we went to Abbey Road earlier this year I went there with Darren, and we went there to do two things. Three things. We went there to record the Pathless. We went there to record the ending music from Hades, and we went there to record the songs of Supergiant Vinyl. And it was like to see Hades get the reaction that it's gotten.
I think it's Game of the Year.
Funny enough. So that for those that when you reach the end and you hear the orchestral music that we recorded for it, I finally last night beat it for the first fucking time, and I finally got to hear the stupid shit we recorded. And
what did you beat it with? Out of curiosity,
I used the shield.
Interesting.
For me, the shield is far and away the one that feels most comfortable to me. I've basically abandoned all the rest.
In the observatory.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Nothing like a Cluedo reference. Gotta love it. Which you call Clue.
What'd you call it?
Cluedo. It's called
Cluedo.
Cluedo. Everywhere but
Because-
America, where they're like, but what does the dough mean? We gotta just call it Clue.
Word for game.
It doesn't make any sense. Cluedo.
See, this is why the
Ludo,
Americans have to call it
That's
Clue.
why they changed it.
Doesn't
The
make
Latin
any
word for
sense.
game.
That makes
I
no
think we should
sense.
file
Make
a
up a
motion
word.
to change
The
this.
Latin name for game is Ludo. That's why lunar dissonance, all that stuff. And it's clues, so it's a game about clues, so it's Cluedo.
Don't be
And
clever.
when it came to America, they didn't think Americans would know the Latin for game.
No,
Didn't
no,
think they'd
we
understand
can't-
it.
no.
Well, clearly not, right? Yeah.
It's pronounced Cluedo because
You don't get to do that, Troy Baker. You don't get to buck that.
Yeah, I
You're
can't do it with
basically
tea kettle.
European.
And I got patches on my elbows.
So on the note of the Pathless receiving a lot of love, the two people below me have also had massive video game launches this year.
Let's also not gloss over that Troy is in the Pathless. And he's the bad guy, and Laura Bailey, who he directed, is the hero, is the hunter.
True, you also
Entirely
worked on
of
that game.
Troy's doing.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I really need to play it. I've also been meaning to play Spiritfarer. I don't know why my brain connected those two as having similar vibes, but two very nice games that I was planning to play.
I would
this weekend.
love to talk about Spiritfarer. It came up when we had our long conversation about death, and people recommended it, and I went and played it, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I would so love to get your takes on it.
Yeah,
It was not what I was expecting.
it's pretty short, right?
I think it was 20 hours for me.
is
It's
not short.
and it's not.
I
It's
am-
not. Yeah, I thought it was going to be more. I thought it was going to be more. Gone Home-ish or something, and not at all. That's part of what gives me my thoughts that I'm curious to discuss.
Gotcha. But yeah, I just wanted to I'll play it and I'll hit you up. But also just congratulate Troy obviously on. I was texting you the whole time that I was playing The Last of Us Part 2, and I did make a video that's not up yet where I react to the Game Awards, and obviously it's extremely biased, but I thought that your performance as Joel there was fantastic, and there's this one line in that game that I think it's something along the lines of like, I would like that very much, or I would like that, and the way that you delivered that line, I just cried immediately. Like immediately I was just like, oh my god.
I will not
Incredible.
understand the hate on that game. To me, it was a masterpiece.
It is.
I understand the emotional incompatibility of Mike and that perspective of feeling like
I was going to say, come at me direct, Austin, if you've got I genuinely loved and respected it. It just wasn't tonally a game for me to play this year. I will go back to it.
I think that's fair.
But
It's
in a
heavy.
different time emotionally, I'll have a good time with that game.
I had the opposite
But, and
experience where I was glad
think
to
I
have
was
them
also
scratched.
texting Troy and I loved it as well. Like the whole museum thing, I was just, I loved it.
He's like, this is beautiful. I'll still never let you do a British accent. And Greg Miller's
Your
gonna
British
actually
accent
suck
is
there.
of all the actors who presumptuously always try a British accent in the booth with me, you're my favorite.
Does it upset you that I'm in a game with a British accent, Troy? Yeah,
you
I have
had
a
a
British
British
accent in
accent?
After
What are
Party.
you in doing British? Oh,
In After
okay.
Party. I'm in DJ. I'm like, hello everyone, welcome to hell!
Oof.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
And also Mike, obviously, massive launch, kind of unexpectedly
Yeah,
massive
dude.
from the perception I get from
Update.
you. Oh, look at you posing. He just went,
Yeah.
New update just
Little-
dropped. New update. Who dis?
for Solid Tech Conspiracy. My incredibly talented cast, I just wanted to thank you all for taking us out of the box every week, having engaging conversations that I never expect or never know what to anticipate, and for sharing your wisdom with everyone so in such an unfiltered way. This show is one of my favorite things to do every week, and I love the three of you a whole lot.
Oh,
I love you
too.
couldn't agree more.
Cool. All right. Well, I have to get back to work now. So
Go to your job now.
not unemployed prior to getting this job. I just want to be clear. Thank you for watching live, everyone. We will
Happy
be live
1 year
again.
anniversary.
Yeah, at episode 50. Bye.